Hey, welcome to this tutorial. It's actually more of a follow along or walkthrough. So the objective for activity 1.5 is to create the scene that we're looking at here in Blender. So at this point we've learned a little bit about Blender. It is a 3D animation and modeling software tool that actually can make feature animated films. It's pretty powerful stuff. But today we're just going to attempt to get into creating meshes. And so you see a number of meshes here on the screen. This is going to be what we're going to shoot for. We're just going to recreate this. And it'll allow us to kind of exercise some of the skills that we've been watching and experimenting with, including creating meshes, the most current video you watch, but going back like translating, which is just another word for moving, rotating, and scaling, which is another word for sizing, and then meshes. Meshes are objects that are created out of polygons or faces. In Blender, we call them faces. So they've got points, which are vertices, edges, and which are lines, and faces. So I'm going to go ahead and click over. So we're going to be making this. We're going to create this sort of Mickey Mouse looking shape, this ice cream cone looking shape, the donut over here, the monkey, and it automatically will get the default cube whenever we start a new scene in Blender. This cube just is there. So we'll shove it down. We're going to be rotating the monkey, creating the monkey, and rotating the monkey. We'll be creating the donut shape is actually a mesh that's called torus. So we'll be creating a torus and shifting it over here. We're going to be creating a cone for the bottom of this, and we're going to be rotating it. And we're going to be using this guy is actually called an icosphere. It's kind of a low poly sphere. It looks a little bit more angular than the actual UV sphere, which is what we've used to make this sort of Mickey Mouse shape. There's three different spheres here. Two of them have been sized down, and of course they've all been moved away from the origin, which is where the red axis and the green axis, our X and Y axes, meet there. So okay, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to click on New, and I'm going to choose General to get a brand new file started. We're going to discard those changes. All right, so let's see if we can remember what we need to do here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move this box, the default cube, down just to kind of get it out of our way. So in order to move it, there are a couple of different things you can do. There's some tools up here. What I like to do is actually drag this out a little bit so you can actually see the words for the menu for these tools. So to move it, we can click move, and then we can just use the blue arrow here and kind of just drag it down so it's kind of out of our way. So as we're making new shapes, they typically appear at the origin or wherever we've got our 3D cursor actually. And that happens to be at the origin right there where all of the axes meet. So let's start with the Mickey Mouse looking object. And so in order to do that, we want to make sure that we're in object mode up here, and we're going to click the add button and mesh. This is where we find all of the meshes that we can add and combine to create shapes or to get us started with modeling later. So we're going to use the UV sphere here. So I've got the UV sphere. I want to move it. So one way to move it is to move it with the arrows here. And I need it in the upper, sort of the upper left. Now I need to create two other UV spheres here. So there's a couple of ways to do that. One, I can go back to Add, Mesh, and choose my UV sphere and move this one up and over and kind of back. I need to scale it, so I can hit my scale button here. Okay, and I kind of want to scale it. I'm going to grab, if you notice there's this little red cube here, I'm going to grab that and use it to scale it all in all directions at the same time so I don't change the shape. So I just need to get that down here and then maybe go back to move in order to, and I think in the scene it looked a little bit more like it was up here. So that's one way to create it. If you've already got a UV sphere and it's selected, you can tell by the orange circle here, you can actually hit Shift D, and I've just made a new one, and it follows my cursor, and so I can just move it over here and put it on the other side to kind of make that Mickey Mouse looking thing. They both probably can come up. If I click select on here and hold down Shift and select the other sphere, I could grab both of them and kind of move them up a little bit. All right, so that one is done. I believe the next thing we had to make over here was kind of a ice cream cone. So let's make the ice cream cone. We're going to go into our object mode, add, and we're going to choose, we'll start with the cone. Okay, so the cone is pointing the wrong way. We need to drag it up because it was around here in the scene that we're creating, but we do need to rotate it. So we can click the rotate, and we actually want to rotate it around this green axis. So if we choose the green and grab the green line here, we can rotate it just in that one direction and rotate it up to where it's kind of like an ice cream cone. So we can use the green handle there in the rotation tool in order to do that. Okay. And next we need to go back to our add menu. We're getting a lot of practice with that. We're going to grab an icosphere. There it is. Now you can see from the cursors that we're still in rotate mode. So I want to move it. So I'm going to hit move and just pull it up here. And I probably could leave it like this, but I think it probably, I must have scaled it. So I'm going to scale it down a little bit and then bring it, oops. You can always hit Control Z as our friend. Control Z allows us to undo things. So I think I got it a little too small. But anyway, as long as you're there, I'm gonna hit Shift D to select both of these. Choose move and kind of drag them down a little bit so we don't have the top of the ice cream cone being cut off there. All right, the next thing over here was just a donut. That's actually one of the easiest things because we just have to know that a torus, and you can kind of get a little glimpse of what it looks like there. But if we click torus, it already is shaped like a donut, so we can just drag it over and kind of move it up so it's kind of there. And then the last thing we needed to do was we needed our monkey. Monkey is called Suzanne, is the sort of the pet name for our monkey. Oh, we got to go into meshes, and down here we can see it says monkey right here. So the monkey's facing the wrong way, so we could rotate it. In this case, we want to rotate it around the blue. So I'm going to try just grabbing the blue and rotating it so it's kind of facing forward along the red axis there. Okay, that concludes the walkthrough or follow-through video, and hopefully that helped you out as far as recreating this. Don't forget to take a screenshot, and I will see you in the next tutorial.